Now recognizes the gentleman from Ohio for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I thought Mr. Thomas's comments on transparency were a very important lesson. I assume Mr. Angelides agrees that transparency was an important cause here. And I think a lesson that we can take in any market is that investors need transparency about what's going on with whether it's counterparties or what's going on in the marketplace. Is that correct, Mr. Angelides?
I absolutely concur, and to have transparency, you can't have dark markets. You have to have reporting, and that didn't exist for the repo market, the derivatives markets. And so there is a correlation between regulation and derivatives. You have to start by asking for disclosure. Very important. Yes, I think we agree on transparency is a very key factor here.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas.
And with the rating agencies, I mean, who today would design someone to provide a gold standard or good housekeeping seal of approval in which they earn their money by having people pay them for those ratings?
And I'm glad you went there. That's my next question, actually.
And the failure to appreciate how little they were worth.
And I think that that's something we still haven't addressed, and it kind of takes off on what Mr. Sherman talked about. But I do have a concern about issuers being able to pick their own credit rating agency, and in fact, I prefer a blind draw. I don't prefer the method that the senator from Minnesota proposed, which creates a big government structure. I would just create a trust, essentially, and they pay into the trust, and there's a blind draw. It doesn't create more government. It's a more efficient system. But I do want to ask both of you quickly about the credit rating agencies, because I think that there's a view on some in this committee, and I think other places, that we need to reduce our dependence on the credit rating agencies. And while I believe that is partially true, I think it's also, we can't go too far with that, because so many things in our investment structure in this country and worldwide are based on credit rating. So if we took away the conflict of interest and created something like a blind draw, how would both of you view that as creating a system that would work better? And please be brief, because I have one more question.
Okay, one quick question. I think one of the most important things in Dodd-Frank is exposing the methodology. We had to play Where's Waldo. We had a whole team trying to figure it out. It wasn't until 2006 that Moody's actually had a model to analyze subprime lending. I will tell you, having sat on 2 pension boards, that a lot of pension boards don't have the capacity, so ratings will be around.
And they always will be.
Ratings are easy, and they had a history, and what they gained that positive history over looked nothing like what they were rating at the time that the world fell apart. I don't think you can create a government structure. I happen to agree with you. It'll always be $1 short and a day late in trying to cover it. But creating a system where people can't link up on their payment versus their rating is fundamental, and you can do that fairly easily.
And I believe that, too. Thank you. That was, I have just one more question for Mr. Angelides. How's the book selling?
Well, I think let me just say something. Here's what's been surprising. There's been a tremendous hunger in this country to have answers, and while we have a debate going on, I don't say this as a matter of hubris for the commission, but I guess this weekend it will be listed as number 10 on the New York Times bestseller, non-fiction paperback. But I think what that speaks to, still a lot of anger, confusion, people in this country wanting to know why so many people are out of work, why they lost their homes. I think that's really a credit to all the commission's work, that we've put forward facts and we've put forward a debate.
Thank you.
And I've been told by a number of people that the 36 pages, 400 pages in, are definitely worth the price of the book.
Yes, I always go to the back. The one last thing I said is
I do hope the taxpayers get their $10 million back, so that's why I ask about it.
Very quickly, though, from the day we announced this report to the 2 weeks after, there were 330,000 unique visits to the website. So people are going there. People
that kind of access is important, too. And I do want to thank both of you, and I think the fact that even though there's competing ideology in the report, there's always going to be that, and I think people get to see both and choose what they believe themselves. So it doesn't bother me that it was a partisan system. Our country's a partisan system, but I appreciate the fact that both of you were willing to be involved and that the taxpayers and the citizens of this country are getting more information. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you.
I thank the gentleman.